This is Flappy Bird, and this is Minecraft. Combining these two games isn't going to be easy, but we've got to start somewhere. So I've made this course that you see here behind me, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to actually build our main character so that we have that out of the way. So this is our 1-to-1 scale Flappy Bird with each block representing 1 pixel on the actual Flappy Bird design. But if we try and put the bird on our actual map, you'll notice that it is just a little bit too big. Just slight. So what I'm actually going to do to combat this is something that is going to take me an ungodly amount of time, and I'm probably going to regret doing it a lot during the process, because what I'm going to do is to turn this entire thing into armor stands. So this Flappy Bird is 147 blocks, meaning that we would need to summon 147 of these little armor stand heads here. And doing that manually would take a ridiculously long amount of time, and I will do that if we can't have any other solution, but I think I might have another thing that might work. Okay, so this is looking really promising, and so that I don't bore you, I'll explain all the technical stuff in the next 20 seconds. So we're going to spread out armor stands throughout this entire structure, and all of the armor stands that are in air we just instantly kill, which only leaves the ones that are in solid blocks. The next step is to put the solid block that the armor stand is in onto the armor stand's head. Now, because blocks like this aren't block entities, we can't get their entity data, but we can get an item of the block by running this command, and this is an entity, which means you can copy the data onto the armor stand's head. Phew, that was quick. Hopefully you understand that, and let's get it implemented. Okay, so this next function should make armor stands appear throughout the entire bird, and if it doesn't work, then armor stands might appear throughout the entire world and crash my game, so let's hope that this works. Alright, here we go. So we should see... Okay, good start. And if we run this again... Oh god, now it's laggy. Okay, But after a quick 30 minutes of debugging, I had armor stands spread out evenly throughout the entire bird, and I was ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we have armor stands throughout the entire bird, now we just have to set the block on their head to whatever block they're inside. So for example, this armor stand right here is inside a gray terracotta, so then we just have to replace the block on its head into a gray terracotta. Okay, so this should be working. So currently they all have barrier blocks on their heads, but when we run our function, they should get replaced with all of the blocks that they're in. And there we go, we can see all of these have black terracotta, and I'm assuming if we look inside, yep, these ones have snow blocks because they're in a snow block. Perfect. Anyway, while I'm working on the next part, only 5% of the people watching this video are subscribed. That means that 95% of you are not subscribed. So if you could just check that you're subscribed, it would absolutely make my day. Anyway, thank you so much, and let's get back to the video. I've teleported all of the armor stands forward so that we can see them individually of the bird, and it's a little bit tough to tell what's going on. So we have to tightly pack them all together so that there's no gap in between these guys. Okay, well, just the process of squishing them together was extremely complicated, but I got it to work now. It's just kind of underground a little bit. Okay, so now with all of that fixed, this is actually looking pretty amazing. Now, this is still a little bit too big, but that can be easily solved by just making these pipes and the backdrop a little bit bigger to compensate. Actually, we might not have to, because currently we're using small armor stands, but vexes are even smaller than small armor stands, so we can probably make this thing shrink even more. Alright, so this should summon everything in vexes. Our bird is flying away. This is, oh god, This is actually really cool though. Wait, this is sick. Okay. I'm gonna take note of this. I could definitely do something with this in the future. Anyway, let's make it not do that. Okay, as I was saying, take 2. Now we have a perfect new Flappy Bird made entirely out of vexes, which are pretty interesting. You know, it is made of something that can fly, so I guess that makes sense. But look at the pure scale down between these two things. This is kind of insane. I can totally see myself playing Flappy Bird with a bird of this size. But then when you see it like this, it's just, it messes with your head, man. This is confusing. I think we should move on before I lose all my brain cells. So for the vertical motion of our bird, we are of course going to be using my favorite trick in the book, which is the carrot on a stick right-click detector. So now when we right-click with a carrot on a stick, our score goes up by 1, which is one of the easiest ways to do right-click detection in Minecraft. Okay, so I've set up a couple functions so that when I right-click, it should take the no AI away from these guys, move them up, and then add it back. But I have a sneaking suspicion that they might just go everywhere as soon as I take it away, so let's see what happens. You know? It didn't work, but that's pretty awesome if I'm being honest. Let me see that again. It just gets steadily more and more disheveled the higher we go. But of course, this, while being pretty cool, doesn't exactly resemble a bird anymore, so I have one other idea which might work. So essentially, if we summon an armor stand in front of each one of these vexes, then we can use that armor stand and copy the motion from the armor stand into the vex without having to modify the vex's motion directly, meaning that it shouldn't do that. Alright, well that took way too long to do, as you can probably tell by all of the scoreboard mess in the side here. But it should all be working now, so if I remove the no gravity tag from all the armor stands... There we go! We have a fully jumping bird. And it took me an insane amount of time to do, so I'm glad it's working. And also, don't let him fall to the floor, because he will, yeah. He will die. Hang on, that was so funny. I need to see this again. Shoo! He just gets crushed. Okay, so next up is the movement. So we have to be consistently moving from left to right in alignment with our Flappy Bird. So while I could just use a teleport command like what I did in my Mario video, and do this each time we want to move one block to the left, that's not particularly smooth, and you can definitely tell that it's a teleport rather than a gradual motion. But there is actually an alternative to this. If I use this command block to spawn a slime right here, then this slime has a little bit of pushing motion. So when I step into the slime, it'll push me out of the block in a very smooth way that's not incremental, and it's not like teleporting at all. And if I spawn a bunch of these slimes, then what we essentially have here is a very consistent motion block. So if I step into it, it consistently pushes me in the same direction. And this is actually really fun to play around with, and if you make an entire floor of these, it gets very laggy, but also very fun, very fast. Hang on, if I can time this right. It's like a speed boost. Hold on. That boosted me so far. Hang on, if I put myself directly above it, can I just bob up and down on top of it? Okay, I'm directly on top of it. Oh, I'm just standing in it, but as soon as I do anything, I zoom out. But anyway, we can use this concept to push our player in a specific direction. So if we teleport the slime next to us, then it'll consistently push the player in that direction. So using this little mechanic, we can pretty easily make smooth motion for our Flappy Bird game. Okay, so I've put a basic slime system in place to make our motion work. So currently my FOV is 30, so the screen actually works, but we do have an invisible slime right here, and that's pushing us along, but this is a little bit slow, so I'm gonna see if making the floor ice does anything good. So now that we have a good speed, it's time to implement the system that's gonna make our bird actually follow us so that we can control it and play the game. And using this one command, I was able to modify the Flappy Bird's motion in order to make it move along at the same rate as the player slid along on the ice. Wow, putting this all together is pretty incredible. This is almost finished, and all we have to do is the pipe system so that you can actually die now. Okay, let's make the pipes actually work so that this thing is fully playable. Okay, I think this is probably a good amount of space to have in between the bottom pipe and the top pipe, so let's get started. Okay, I think these pipes are looking pretty good, and the bird should be able to fit pretty comfortably between them. But we definitely need to make the jump higher, but this is working pretty well so far. Okay, all we should have to do now is add the death system so that when the bird hits the pipe, it actually dies. Alright, things never go well on the first test, but... Oh lord, why... Okay, that was very loud. But even though you couldn't hear it, the sound that played does mean that the death detection system is working. And we also need to make this work for when the player hits the bottom, so all we should have to do is make a little hole. Then what this means is that the bird will fall down this gap when it dies, and because the block right here is not air, that will also trigger our death system. But if we play an actual game with this, I have a feeling that the pipes are going to be way too constrictive and low. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to time. Oh,
Sheesh. Hi. Did you make the flap, the bird?
Yeah.
That's made of blocks?
The
bird's made of blocks?
Sorta. It's like...
Sheesh!
Each one of these, you know how you can put like blocks? Was that Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
You know how you can like put blocks on the heads of things? It'll put a candle on your head. So if you do that with blocks, it'll put it like fully on your head. So you can do that with armor stands and stuff too.
It must have taken a very long time to figure out. Okay, we'll play it.
Yeah, okay, I'll try. It's the pipes are very like constrictive right now, so that's what I was just saying in the clip. Oh, I died.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I'm making the pipes farther apart, because they're very difficult right now. But that's Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird by Dukky.
Well, anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted... Hang on, let me get this glass block off my head. It's kind of hard to breathe. So anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted by my sister, I need to make these pipes a little bit wider because it's very difficult to actually fly the bird in between them properly without hitting them and dying. So I guess we'll go like 2 blocks wider and see how that fares. Okay, the pipes are now 2 to 3 blocks bigger, so let's see if it's a little bit easier to actually play this game. There we go. First one's pretty easy. I think this is a pretty good height. There we go. It's still relatively easy to die, but it's not too difficult. So the last thing to do is just to add the score mechanism. So I've put a diamond block underneath each one of these little pillars, and the bird is just going to check if it's on top of a diamond block, and if so, then it's going to add 1 to the score. And now it's completely done, so let's see how high of a score I can get. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Nice, the score is working on the sidebar. I haven't actually tested that yet, so it's good to see that that's working. There's 2. Can we make it through the 3rd? We can. Come on, give me 4. Nice, nice, nice. Oh, we just barely scraped the top of that one. 6. 7. Come on, come on, come on. 8. Give me 10, give me 10, give me 10. 9. 10. Yes. No, we made it to 11. And good thing, because we were kind of running out of screen space. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Join my Discord server, please. Ba-da, ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba-da, ba, 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 ba-da, ba-da, ba, ba, bum, bum, ba-da, ba-da.